So when you have a quadratic equation on the bottom, the steps are the same as when it's a linear equation. Should we rewrite the steps out again? Would you like that? The same steps that we had before? Let's go quick. Step 1, what did we do first? We graphed the bottom. So in this case, when we graph the bottom, we'd graph the parabola, negative x squared minus 1. So it's a good review of chapter 4 when we were graphing all those parabolas. Okay? We're going to draw our asymptotes next. Remember that we have vertical asymptotes at all non-permissible values or where there are x-intercepts on our original graph, because then we'll be dividing by 0. And we'll draw horizontal asymptotes just one of them, not asymptotes, at y equals 0. So you're going to have a horizontal asymptote at y equals 0 because a parabola gets either really big y values eventually or really big negative y values eventually. So when you do 1 over that, it's going to get really close to 0 but not equal 0 exactly. So we'll have an asymptote at y equals 0. We're going to label some points on the original graph. And the reciprocal. You're going to label one in each section depending on how many asymptotes you have. You're going to label at least one in each section. So if we go back to all the graphs that we had, the first ones with no vertical asymptotes only has one section. You can get away with labeling only one point. We'll probably label 2 anyways, sort of as a minimum. For the second one where there's one asymptote, like the volcano or the trench one, we'll label a point on each side. And for the third one where there's 2 asymptotes, you'll label a point in each section. No matter which one you're doing, you'll always do the vertex, because that's the lowest point or highest point on a parabola, so it'll be the lowest point or highest point on the reciprocal. And finally, number 4, we're going to show the asymptotic behavior. So the steps are the same whether it's a parabola or a line. Sometimes we have to label a few more points in a parabola than we had to for a line. And one thing with a parabola, we're always going to label the vertex. So for this one, starting it off, we're going to start by graphing negative x squared minus 1. It's already in standard position, in the standard form. We know that the vertex is at 0, negative 1. Again, use different colored pens, so maybe you're doing your first one in pencil. Zero, negative 1. And our parabola is going down because of the negative. The a value is a negative 1, so that means it goes over 1, down 1. So we would have 1 comma negative 2 over 1, down 1. Negative 1, negative 2. If you wanted to label another point, the next one, it goes over 1, down how many? 3. So we would have 2, negative 5. You could do the same thing on the other side. But there is our parabola. Step 2, we're going to draw all our asymptotes. We draw vertical asymptotes where we have x-intercepts. Do we have any x-intercepts? No. Then we draw our horizontal asymptote at y equals 0. Okay? Label points. So now we're going to take out a different color pen. What's going to happen to 0, negative 1? It's going to stay 0, negative 1. What's going to happen to 1, negative 2? It's going to become 1 comma 1 over negative 2, or negative 1/2.
Or negative 0.8.
And what do we get when we draw the asymptotic behavior? The little pothole. So if the vertex, in this case on the black graph, you see how the vertex is the highest your graph ever gets. It's the highest point on the black graph is the vertex. The highest point becomes the lowest point on the reciprocal. So once I have these 2 points and you know it has to approach the asymptote, you know that you're going to get the little pothole. Okay, the questions that are similar are 3, 6, and 11b.